Hey ARMY! Welcome back to our channel. If you're a hardcore Jimin fan, you've probably watched countless videos of his jaw-dropping performances, right? Especially when he starts doing those aerial flips or backflips on stage. That move has become Jimin's signature, making him stand out as one of the best main dancers in K-pop. But have you ever noticed there were certain periods when Jimin suddenly stopped doing that move? Some said he was tired, others said the choreography changed. But the truth behind it is far more serious than you think. Guys, in today's video, we're going to uncover a secret that's rarely discussed. BigHit Entertainment, now known as hybe labels, once officially banned Jimin from performing aerial flips at BTS concerts. And the reason is no joke. This wasn't just about being overly cautious, but because there were dangerous incidents that almost ended Jimin's career as a dancer. So make sure you watch until the end, because this story will make you appreciate every single move Jimin does on stage even more. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any latest updates about BTS. Okay, let's start from the beginning. For those of you who might be new ARMY or don't know much about Jimin's background, he's not just any ordinary dancer. Jimin is a graduate of Busan High School of Arts, one of the most prestigious art schools in Korea. He studied contemporary dance, which is one of the most challenging dance styles because it requires extreme flexibility, perfect body control, and the ability to express deep emotions through movement. This is where Jimin developed his skills in acrobatics and aerial movements. He doesn't just flip randomly, he truly understands the technique behind it. When Jimin joined BTS and started performing, this advantage was immediately apparent. Among the other BTS members, Jimin has his own uniqueness. J-Hope is known as the lead dancer with explosive energy, Jungkook has incredible power and stamina, but Jimin? He has a combination of grace, flexibility, and aerial acrobatics that sets him apart. His aerial flips aren't just cool moves to watch, they've become highlight moments in every BTS performance. ARMY worldwide always anticipate those moments, and Jimin fancam videos focusing on his flip moves can go viral with millions of views. But behind that greatness, there's a very big risk. And the story about BigHit's ban begins in 2017, when BTS was rising with their Wings tour. This tour was one of the most successful for BTS at that time, with dozens of shows in various countries. Jimin, with his high dedication and perfectionism, always wanted to give his best at every show. He didn't want a single ARMY who came to their concert to feel disappointed. Well, the problem started emerging at one of the shows in the United States. That night, Jimin performed his aerial flip as usual. He had practiced this move hundreds of times in the practice room. He knew every detail from the momentum, rotation, to the landing. But there's one thing people often forget. Concert stage conditions are very different from practice studios. Stage floors can be harder, more slippery, or have different textures. And that night, when Jimin landed from his flip, something went wrong. His ankle didn't land perfectly. In the world of acrobatics and dance, landing is everything. If you land wrong even by just a few degrees, the ligaments and tendons in your foot can be pulled or even torn. And that night, the ligament in Jimin's ankle was severely strained. Imagine the pain, guys. But this is what makes Jimin extraordinary and worrying at the same time. He didn't immediately stop or show that he was in pain. As a trained professional, he continued performing until the end of the show with a smile on his face. ARMY who were at the venue didn't even realize their idol was enduring tremendous pain. The only ones who noticed were the other BTS members and some staff who saw Jimin limping slightly when they were backstage. After the concert ended, the medical team immediately checked Jimin's condition and they found serious swelling. Jimin had to rest completely and receive intensive treatment for several weeks. This was the first red flag for BigHit. They began to reevaluate all choreography involving high-risk movements. But at that time, a total ban wasn't issued yet. Why? Because Jimin himself insisted on continuing to do aerial flips. For Jimin, aerial flips weren't just ordinary moves. They were part of his artistic identity, something that made him unique and special. He felt that if he didn't do that move, he wasn't giving his best to ARMY. The management team and choreographers finally agreed, with the condition that there had to be better preparation and stage conditions had to be checked more carefully before every show. Jimin also had to do extra warm-ups to minimize injury risk. But guys, a bigger problem came a year later, in 2018. This was the Love Yourself World Tour era, which was far more massive than previous tours. BTS performed in large stadiums with tens of thousands of audience members at each show. The pressure was incredibly high, and Jimin, with his perfectionist nature, kept pushing himself beyond his limits. And this is where a near-fatal incident occurred. At one of the concerts in Europe, while performing the song Idol, Jimin did his aerial flip as usual. But there was an unpredicted technical problem. The stage lighting system suddenly changed faster than what was planned in rehearsal. It might sound trivial, just a lighting issue. But in the world of acrobatics, lighting is crucial. When you're in the air, you need visual orientation to know your body position and when to land. A sudden change in lighting can make you lose orientation, even if just for a split second. And that night, Jimin lost visual orientation momentarily when he was in the air. Guys, this is a nightmare for any acrobat or dancer, because you don't have full control once your body is already airborne. Jimin, who should have landed perfectly, had his body position change, and he almost fell headfirst onto the hard stage floor. Imagine if that actually happened. A head or neck injury could end in paralysis or even worse. Fortunately, Jimin's trained reflexes saved his life. In those last seconds, he managed to rotate his body so that his shoulder hit the floor, not his head or neck. But the impact was so hard it was heard by members who were several meters away from him. J-Hope, who was performing nearby, immediately froze and his eyes were full of worry directed at Jimin. But because they were still in the middle of performing and there were tens of thousands of eyes watching, they had to stay professional and continue the performance. This time, Jimin couldn't hide his pain perfectly. He was visibly struggling to move his right arm during the rest of the performance. And as soon as they left the stage, Jimin collapsed. The medical team that's always on standby at every BTS concert immediately took him to the emergency medical room. Initial examination showed possible shoulder dislocation and damage to the rotator cuff. This is a group of muscles and tendons that are super important for shoulder movement, and injuries in this area can end a professional dancer's career if not handled properly. That very night, Bang Si-hyuk, who was still the CEO of BigHit Entertainment at the time, flew directly to the concert location. This shows how serious the situation was. An emergency meeting was held involving all management, medical team, and BTS members. They had to make a quick decision because there were still dozens of shows remaining in the tour. And it was at this meeting that the official ban was imposed. Bang Si-hyuk firmly stated that the health and safety of members is the #1 priority, far above how spectacular a performance might be. Jimin was strictly forbidden from doing aerial flips or other high-risk acrobatic movements until he fully recovered and until the team could develop stricter safety protocols. This wasn't an easy decision to make, but it was a decision that had to be made. For Jimin, this ban was a heavy blow. Guys, you have to understand that for a dancer with passion and dedication like Jimin, not being able to do his signature move is like losing part of his artistic identity. There were reports from staff saying that Jimin appeared very down during this period. Although he remained professional on stage, inside he was really struggling. He felt guilty because he thought he was disappointing ARMY, who expected his best performance. The other BTS members fully supported Jimin. Jungkook and J-Hope even offered to modify their choreography to compensate for the absence of Jimin's aerial flip. Jin, RM, Suga, and V also always gave moral support. They all understood how difficult this situation was for Jimin. But they also knew this decision was best for Jimin's long-term health. What made this situation more complicated was the reaction of some fans on social media. Because BigHit didn't explain details about Jimin's injury to protect his privacy, many ARMY who didn't know the real situation started wondering why Jimin wasn't doing his flip anymore. There was speculation ranging from him losing his ability to him becoming lazy. Negative comments like these certainly hurt Jimin, who was already struggling with his own internal frustration. BigHit eventually had to release a subtle statement explaining that there were choreography modifications for safety reasons, without revealing details of Jimin's injury. This was a difficult balance between transparency to fans and respecting member privacy. But this decision remained controversial, with some fans feeling BigHit wasn't transparent enough and others appreciating BigHit's effort to protect Jimin. During this ban period, BigHit didn't just sit idle, guys. They invested heavily in research and development to make BTS concerts safer without sacrificing performance quality. The technical team began developing real-time monitoring systems for stage conditions, including sensors that could detect the flexibility and hardness levels of the stage surface at various points. They also invested in special stage flooring materials that provide optimal grip and cushioning for acrobatic movements. The lighting team was required to give clearer cues to members before any significant lighting changes. They even hired consultants from the circus world and professional acrobatic performances to provide insights about safety protocols commonly used in their industry. This was an expensive investment, but BigHit didn't care. The safety of their members was priceless. Meanwhile, Jimin underwent incredibly intensive rehabilitation. He worked with the best physiotherapists and followed a strengthening program designed specifically to prevent similar injuries in the future. The process wasn't quick, guys. This wasn't an injury that could heal in a week or two. It took months of rehabilitation and consistent training. But Jimin's hardworking characteristic made him extremely disciplined in following every instruction from the medical team. What's interesting is that Jimin didn't just focus on physical recovery. He also used this time to learn about the biomechanics aspects of aerial movements. He worked with sports science experts to understand more deeply how his body moves, what happens at the muscle and joint level when he does a flip, and how to minimize injury risk in the future. This shows Jimin's extraordinary dedication. He didn't just want to return to performing, he wanted to return in a smarter and more sustainable way. The ban began to be gradually lifted in 2019, but with super strict protocols. Every time Jimin wanted to do an aerial flip at a concert, there had to be approval from the medical team, choreographer, and management. The stage had to be checked in detail at least 2 hours before the show. Jimin had to do a specific warm-up routine for at least 45 minutes. And most importantly, he had to wear certain protective gear that wasn't visible to the audience, but provided extra support to his critical joints. This experience taught a very valuable lesson not just for BTS or BigHit, but for the entire K-pop industry. BigHit started sharing their safety protocols with other agencies. They encouraged the industry to be more serious about protecting the health and safety of idols. This marked a paradigm shift from the old mentality of the show must go on at any cost to a more humanistic and sustainable approach. hybe, as one of the biggest entertainment companies now, even established a special department focused on health and safety for all their artists. They have a comprehensive medical team, mental health support, and strict safety protocols for all activities from rehearsal to performance. This is the legacy of the painful experience Jimin went through, but now it's become a standard that protects all artists under hybe. For Jimin himself, this experience reshaped his approach to performance. He learned that being a great dancer isn't just about doing the most difficult or most dangerous moves. It's about communicating emotion and story through movement in an authentic and sustainable way. Many choreographers and dance critics noticed that Jimin's performances actually became more mature and expressive after this period. He focused more on artistic quality rather than just spectacular acrobatics. If you pay attention to BTS performances from 2019 until now, you can see the evolution in Jimin's style. His aerial flips are still there, but done more calculatedly and at moments that are truly impactful. He also developed other signature moves that are equally cool, but with more manageable risk. His iconic spins, his flexibility in contemporary movements, and his emotional facial expressions now became more prominent in his performances. And guys, this is something we all as ARMY should appreciate. Every time we see Jimin do an aerial flip at concerts now, it's not just a cool move. It's the result of a painful learning experience, of tough management decisions that prioritized long-term health over momentary sensation, and of Jimin's dedication that never faded despite facing heavy challenges. BigHit's ban, although it felt harsh at the time, might be the decision that saved the career of one of the greatest dancers of his generation. Without that decision, maybe now we wouldn't be able to see Jimin perform as powerfully and gracefully as we see today. Maybe his career would have ended due to permanent injury. Maybe BTS would have lost one of the pillars in their performances. So next time you watch a BTS concert or their performance videos, and you see Jimin doing that jaw-dropping aerial flip, remember all the stories behind it. Appreciate not just the skill, but also all the safety systems, planning, and sacrifice that exist behind that single movement. Value BigHit's decision to bravely stand up to prioritize their members' health even when it meant temporarily losing one of the biggest highlights in BTS performances. And most importantly, this is a reminder for all of us that the idols we love are human too. They have physical limits, they can get injured, and their health should always come first before our entertainment. As fans, we should support decisions that protect their health, even if it means we can't see certain performances or certain moves. Okay, ARMY, that's the complete story about why BigHit once banned Jimin from doing aerial flips at concerts. A story you probably rarely hear and hopefully makes you appreciate Jimin and BTS even more. If you liked this video, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with fellow ARMY so they also know this behind-the-scenes story. Drop in the comment section your thoughts about BigHit's decision. Do you think this was the right decision? Or would you prefer Jimin to keep doing all the risky moves to give the best performance? Let's discuss in the comments. And if there are other topics about BTS you want us to cover, drop your suggestions too. See you in the next video, and as always, let's continue to love and support BTS in the healthiest way possible. Borahi ARMY!